What's happening, everybody? Ryan Thomas here. Thomas Take Sports Podcast coming to you a little bit differently. Of course, I got the Zoom background. We're on Zoom tonight, having a little bit of audio and/or technical difficulties with the site StreamYard, which is the site that I usually use. But today I'm coming to you on Zoom. A lot to discuss as far as our Buffalo Bills. Of course, I touched on it earlier today. Deontay Hardy and Connor McGovern, new acquisitions for the Buffalo Bills, and I'm really excited about. They added some speed, they added some versatility that I think was much needed to this roster as well. Jordan Poyer, he's back, and Jordan Poyer being back is not much of a shock to me. It's nowhere near as big a shock to me as it is to most, due in large part to the fact that most believe Poyer was a goner. But for me, I felt like the market was always a tough one for Jordan Poyer. And respect to this, you look league wide, not just Poyer with the Bills, but league wide, of course, you would see that Poyer had there were 18 safeties in the actual free agency period. 18 starting safeties rather. Jordan Poyer was one of the oldest out of all of them. One of the oldest guys that was out there. So the fact that he was out there, the fact that he went out and tested the market, found out that he wasn't really the guy that he thought he was, I think to the rest of the market. He thought he was a much bigger name than what he was to the rest of the teams in the league. As well, there was no better situation for him than Buffalo. So for him to stay, great. He's back with Micah Hyde, his good buddy. I'm really excited about that. I'm rocking the backwards hat. As well, I'm excited about the opportunity that's ahead for this defense. And you can look at it one way. You can look at it as an opportunity, or you could look at it negatively. And most Bills fans right now, they're frustrated over the fact that Tremaine Edmunds is gone. As am I. The philosophy of the Buffalo Bills is to retain, draft, develop, and retain, right? I think that's it. Brandon Beane said it a bunch of times. Draft, retain, and develop. I think I got that right. DDR, right? Draft, develop, and retain. The Bills drafted Tremaine Edmunds. They developed him, but they didn't retain him. And that's the part that was crucial towards long-term success for not only Tremaine Edmunds, but for the Buffalo Bills. And now Tremaine Edmunds is gone. He's in Chicago. I don't quite know what to expect from Tremaine Edmunds in terms of whether he's going to actually be better in Chicago than what he was in Buffalo. But what I do know is the simple fact that Tremaine Edmunds is one of those players that it's unfortunate. You expected Tremaine Edmunds to be here. I expected Tremaine Edmunds to be here for the long haul. We expected Tremaine Edmunds to not only be drafted, be developed, but retained so that this 19-year-old linebacker that we drafted out of Virginia Tech to be the inside linebacker for the present and the future of the Buffalo Bills would be here more than 5 years. He's 25 years old now, 5, 6 years that he'd been in this team and been a pillar of the community as well. Great guy. It's unfortunate to see a guy like that go, but it's even more unfortunate to not replace him properly. And that's the next step. You can only moan a loss or mourn. You can only mourn a loss for so long before you're looking on the back end, you're on the outside looking in, saying to yourself, well, now what? Now what do we need to do? Who do we need to be? What type of team are we? X, Y, and Z. And there are a select few names out there that I offer to you in terms of potential names that could be adequate replacements for Tremaine Edmunds. One of them is Miles Jack, who was recently cut by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another is Zach Cunningham of the Tennessee Titans. Another one is Deontay Jones out of Cleveland, longtime Atlanta Falcon, was the middle linebacker for the Falcons in Dan Quinn's defense that led the Falcons to the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Granted, we know what happened there, but can't blame it on Deontay Jones. It was a defensive, cluster, you know what. But there are a lot of pieces to this team and a lot of people running it that feel that draft, develop, retain is the best philosophy. And you're able to do that in the sense with Matt Milano, extending him for another 2 years. I'm very happy about that. I'm also very happy that Poyer is back. I think he kind of overestimated his worth in terms of how great he was or how great he thought his market would be. And it turned out that his market wasn't so great. So getting him back, crucial. Getting him back, great. For the future of this defense, it's in a state of transition to say the least. But I will say this as well, there's plenty of work left to be done. And there's plenty of room to add weapons to this offense. There's still a lot of really good names out there that I'd like to see Buffalo try to sign. And I think the longer those names are in free agency, waiting on potential new offers, the cheaper they could become. Guys like Miko Hardman, guys like Jamison Crowder, who I do want to see Jamison Crowder get another shot with Buffalo due to the fact that I felt like he didn't get much of a shot. He didn't get an adequate chance due to the fact that he got hurt. And to lose a guy to injury is one thing, but to lose a guy to injury that you didn't even really get to reap the reward of, that's another. We didn't even get to see the reward that Jamison Crowder could provide us, who I think is a much better alternative than Cole Beasley, who the Bills actually brought back. So there's a lot of topics within this show that I like to discuss. And of course, another one that I want to bring up to you guys is another new addition. We talked about Deontay Hardy today. We talked about Connor McGovern today. Let's talk about Kyle Allen. You can't underestimate the value of a backup quarterback. And truthfully, you can't underestimate the value of a backup quarterback when your quarterback that's your starter is one that could potentially get hurt due to the way he plays the game. We love him for it. He's our guy. But Josh Allen likes to take his lumps, loves to take some hits, loves to get fired up for the boys. And one wrong hit could lead to Allen being out. It almost happened this season with the UCL injury. So the backup quarterback position is very important for this team. And, I had a strong inclination that once the season ended, that Case Keenum would not be back. And that's due to the fact that Case Keenum felt like he could go to another team and potentially start, albeit it's a bad team, but you're always going to take the opportunity to start on a team, whether they're bad or not, over being a backup. And if you're Case Keenum, a veteran, obviously you're going to take that opportunity. Case Keenum gets the chance to go back to where he's from. Houston, of course, he's played for Houston before. He's going back there, getting closer to his family, not missing out on his family time with his sons and things of that nature. Great for him, but the Bills had to move on from that. They had to replace Case Keenum with somebody. And I really like this addition of Kyle Allen. I'm not trying to overhype it. I'm not trying to overestimate it. I'm just saying I really like this addition of Kyle Allen. And I'll tell you the reasons why, of course. Kyle Allen's young. He's 27. He's almost same age as Josh Allen. He started some games. He's won some games. He started some games. He's lost some games, right? We know that this guy's not a finished product by any means, but he's young. We signed him on a 1-year deal. And I think if we can develop this guy in that quarterback room with Ken Dorsey, former quarterback, of course, in his own right, as well as with Josh Allen and Matt Barkley, I think you got some potential in this kid to mold him into a long-term solution at the backup position. As well, he's very, very good friends with Josh Allen, which I do think matters in terms of his willingness to stick around beyond this season if, in fact, he sees that his game is improving while spending one season rather, with the Buffalo Bills. I'm really excited for this edition, and I felt like this edition made, a lot of sense in terms of the future for Kyle Allen and in terms of our offense. I feel like he's a great fit. So that's an addition that I definitely felt the need to discuss on this pod tonight. And I really feel that it's an opportunity to go about looking at things a little bit differently rather than looking at it, okay, we're going to go with a veteran, rather than looking at it as we're going to go with, we just want this older guy to be, our starter. we're looking at it a little bit differently. We're looking at it in the sense that, hey, we need to get a player in here that we can help make him better, we can help him grow, and we can help him be an even better option for our long-term future if in fact we help make him better and make him grow. I think that's really important. I really do. I think that's really, really important. So there's a lot to discuss in terms of the future of this team. Adding weapons is important. Obviously, you do have a lot of guys that look at this team as, potential Super Bowl favorites. And I agree with most people that I would look at this team and I would say that this team has been in the running these last few years as potential Super Bowl favorites, as they should be. And they've knocked on this door time and time again. They're actually a little bit further away from a Super Bowl these last couple seasons in comparison to their last AFC title game appearance in 2020. You go to that AFC title game, you lose it. You go to the AFC divisional round against Kansas City. We know what happened there. 13 seconds, you lose it. You go to the AFC divisional round again, a home game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and you lose it, which was probably just as worse a loss as any of the before mentioned, due to the fact that that game was not competitive. They were flat. They didn't have it. They looked outmatched against a team that only went on to lose the AFC title game 1 week later. So we feel like we're further away. We are further away than where we need to be. And how do we bridge that gap? What needs to happen? What needs to change in order for the Bills to go from point A to point B, to get to where they were and beyond, right? To get back to where they were, that's just glass half full. To get to where they want to be, that's the ticket, right? That's the stuff that makes all the difference in the world. And losing a guy like Jermaine Edmunds doesn't make your team better. Losing a guy like Jordan Poyer certainly wouldn't have made your team better. Bringing a guy like that back, okay, great. Extending a guy like Matt Milano, great. But there is still plenty of work to be done, and finagling this salary cap situation that the Bills are in, or lack thereof, is a very, very tough decision that I think Brandon Beane is only coming to terms with right now in terms of the severity of the situation in comparison to what he thought. I don't think they ever expected to lose a player like Jermaine Edmunds. That was not their goal going into this season. Their goal was to go out, draft, develop, retain. And the fact that they couldn't do that, sorry about that, the fact that they couldn't do that, I think, I don't know what's going on here. The fact that they couldn't do that, I'm sorry, is why I feel that this team is a step behind in terms of where they need to be. And I do believe that this is a team, this is a season that you have to check off every single box. Every single box has to be checked off. No stone can be left unturned in terms of making this team better. All options are on the table. There's no one player on this team that has the job outside of this guy right here, Josh Allen. I think any and all offers should be considered. And I said that at the end of the season, whether it's trading Trey White, trading it, I don't think they're going to do those things. But if in fact you want to make this team better, if in fact you want to look around and find ways to do that, I think that there are ways to definitely do that. 100%. I do believe that there are ways to do that. It's just a matter of being willing to do those things. And I do also feel that we're at a point where there's a lot of moves to be made. There's home run hitters that are available in the draft and or free agency. Free agency is going to be tough to come by due to the cap situation. We understand that. Drafting is tough. Drafting is not easy. So that's going to be tough as well in terms of our future, what we're going to do with that. We can't zero in on one guy because there's a lot of different areas to make this team better via the draft. But if you were to zero in, if you were to zero in on one guy, that guy would be somebody that is a home run hitter. That guy would be somebody that is a home run threat, somebody that could bolster the offense via skill position, could be a running back, could be a wide receiver, and or, even on the kind of skill side of things on defense, a safety wouldn't be a problem, as well as another defensive tackle or a linebacker, of course. Any one of those positions, even a tight end. This is a very rich tight end class. And truthfully, I feel if the Bills had two tight ends, Knox and a Michael Mayer, somebody like that, you could find yourself to be in a really advantageous position as far as your offense goes. All right, I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate the support. You can follow the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at Ryan Thomas Take. Thank you so much for joining me.